Welcome to another episode of Tribal Quotes. This is Brother Kwame with G&J Media. All right. Y'all know I don't like to talk too much, and if you don't, now you do. I'm going to give us a tribal quote, and then we're going to go in a little bit. So the tribal quote that kind of struck me today was, "They who cannot confess their limitation to the divine head cannot begin the process of fulfillment." Again, they who cannot confess their limitation to the divine head cannot begin the process of fulfillment. So, who is this they we're talking about? Well, for our case, we want to try to make this as practical and applicable as possible. So let us start with self. So again, they who cannot confess their limitation. What is this limitation? Well, many of us have these things that we should or should not be doing. And these can be limiting factors in our lives. But if we do not recognize them as limiting factors, in other words, if we cannot confess these limitations to the divine head, and this divine head, I don't want you guys looking outside of yourselves. Let us look within. If you do not recognize the divinity within you, then the divinity without can do you no help. So, if you recognize that there's things in your lives that you should be doing, let's say, and you create all kinds of reasons why you can't do them, or on the other hand, there's those things in your lives that you should cease doing, and you create all kinds of reasons why you can't stop doing them, this is not recognizing the divinity within you. In Jinyame, we have what's called a 21-day challenge. Now, this challenge consists of just going 21 days doing something you know you should be doing, or ceasing something that you know you'd be better off not doing. So in my case, for the longest time, I was just in the house and I wasn't getting any activity in. But when the COVID hit and everything got shut down, my 21 days challenge started off with just walking a mile a day. And to my surprise, it continued far after that 21-day challenge. So in other words, that was something that I needed to start doing and was able to incorporate in my life. And I am a little better for it. And so for you, recognize what it is you want to do, and the limitation between you doing that something is in you. So another quick example. I'm sitting here in front of this, my computer and making this recording and all. And if I have to use the restroom, now, nothing's keeping me from using the restroom right here where I am. But the moral code in our house is such that if you're going to use the restroom, you go to the restroom and you use the toilet. And thus, I need to get up from this seat, perhaps take off my headphones, go to the restroom, and take care of my business. Now, my limitation was recognizing that I'm going to have to leave this spot in order to get to the restroom. And as that one Christmas song said, I think it was with it was one of them Kris Kringle ones. I forget which one it was, but with Winter, Mr. Winter, or something like that, where it was like, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking across the floor. Put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. So yeah, that kind of thing. So again, just taking a little step toward what you want to achieve. And with each new day, you try to build on that. But in order for that to be done, first, you have to recognize the limitation. So I'm going to repeat the proverb one more time. They who cannot confess their limitation to the divine head cannot begin the process of fulfillment. And this fulfillment is usually your goal. So in our 21-day challenge, mine was to become more active. I began walking and just, set out to try to walk a mile a day. And by the end of that, well, the fact is that I kept walking, until wintertime hit. So COVID hit back in, 2020 sometime in March, where everything got shut down. In fact, it was March 15th, the day after my nephew's funeral. And I started walking then, and I didn't stop walking until almost December. So yes, that's an example from that perspective, a practical application of how these things work for us and how we in Jinyame incorporate it into what we do. Now, the math application. Where do we begin? Let's see. First, confessing the limitation to the divine head. So, to make it fairly simple, some of you may remember during your algebra classes where you were restricted by the type of numbers you could use to answer a question. So if I restrict you to the natural numbers, in other words, those numbers that we count our fingers on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those are our natural numbers. And of course, that goes on, as we say in math, ad infinitum. The Latin for goes on to infinity. Where was I going with that? So yeah, if you're restricted to the natural numbers for solving an algebraic equation, then an equation like x plus 5 equals -1. So many of you who've, learned how to solve algebraic equations, you subtract 5 from both sides. So now you have x plus 5 minus 5 equals -1 minus 5. And of course, on the left-hand side of that equation, the plus 5 and minus 5 add to 0. So now it becomes x plus 0 equals -5 minus 1. Well, -5 minus 1 equals -6. So then on the left-hand side, you have x plus 0, which simplifies to x. And on the right-hand side of the equation sign, you have minus 6. And your answer is minus 6. So minus 6 plus 5 equals minus 1. And if you leave that as an answer, you would be incorrect. I know some of you may be thinking, well, how the heck is that correct? I know in my algebra that's correct. But what you forgot is that you were restricted to the natural numbers. The natural numbers must be positive. I repeat, the natural numbers must be positive. So any number like 0 or -1 or -2 or any fractions, they would not work in this particular case. You'd have to say that the answer is the empty set. In other words, that the empty set is just saying that there's no answer for this equation. So again, that's an idea of how, if you do not confess the limitation to the divine head, the process of fulfillment, you cannot begin the process of fulfillment. And of course, the process of fulfillment in this algebraic case is getting the correct answer. And if not that, at least learning from the wrong answer and why it's wrong, and then being able to work your way to achieving or resolving the equation. So again, the original problem was x plus 5 equals -1. X can only be an element of the natural numbers. The natural numbers are your numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to infinity. And I worked it out, and x ended up being -6. Well, -6 is not in that group of numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going to infinity. And so I'd either have to put x does not have an answer in, or x does not have an answer in the natural numbers, or I just have to put x as the empty set. So that is going from the proverb to a practical application in terms of how we use this proverb, ideas of this proverb in Jinyame. Another way of how it shows itself in mathematics or in algebra in this particular case. And again, use all that is within you, the divinity that is within you, to begin what is necessary and cease what is detrimental. All right, family. If you have any comments, please feel free to share. And if you care to want to engage me personally at some point, then we'll try to pick a time where we can take this live. But until then, one love. I'm out.